Okay, today is Wednesday, October 27th. This is class 16. Today in class, we're only going to do one thing in the class today, just because I find that this multi-step process to create dormers gets a little frustrating for some people. So I wanted to just base class on this today, and then we'll have a chance to go over this. But this is basically the steps we're going to be needing to create these dormer windows, and hopefully this will help you kind of get those set up. What we're going to be doing is, I thought we were going to add them to our regular building that we have already created and designed, but instead of doing that, we're going to incorporate them into a separate building that we're going to have on our property, which will be like a little shed or a garage or whatever you want to consider it, but we're going to add it to a separate building on our property as opposed to the regular building that we're creating. You can add it anywhere on the property, but we'll go ahead and step by step go through that on how to create dormers, and I think that'll be I think that'll work a little better for some of y'all with the designs that you've come up with so far, because well, once we get through it, you'll see how it works out. And I think it'll just be a better lesson for you to do it on a separate building. You can still incorporate it into, excuse me, your regular model, your regular design if you want to, but we're just going to do it on a separate little building on the site instead. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into lecture for today on how to create dormer windows. So I'm just going to start with a new project. Remember, always start in an architectural template. And a lot of this is going to be a repeat, just kind of getting to a point where I can throw a little building together. One thing I want you to notice as we start doing this is the real steps are to, well, this is just information, but the steps kind of begin here. When we're creating a dormer, we want to create new levels. So that is a repeat of what we've done before. So I'm going to add a bunch of levels to this building that I'm creating now to make it as many stories as we have in the other one, and then also to add a dormer bottom and a dormer top level as well. So that's what the first step is going to be. And remember, in order to add those levels, we want to go to an elevation view. So I'm going to use my south view. So since there's only two elevations here, I'm going to go ahead and add my third floor and then my roof level. I'm going to select all the walls that I have here, and I'm going to bring those up to level 4. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my roof. Put a little overhang on that because I think that looks nice. And I'm going to put gables on the two ends. That looks weird. Let's jump to 3D and see what I did. Okay, let's move that roof level to level 4. It's looking a bit better now. I'm going to go ahead and select my walls, right click, select all instances, attach top to base, and we have like our little building in place, ready to go. So for this roof, I'm going to give it a little slightly higher slope. Give it a 10, 12. And I'm going to start adding my dormer levels here. So you should be at a point in your drawing when where you look like this. Obviously, you should have a lot more done, but this is the basics for what we need to get that those dormers added. So when we add the dormers, we want to jump back into our south elevation or north elevation. I just always start to work with the south elevation because I think that's the front of the building. So per instructions here, you want to add a dormer bottom level and a dormer top. So next thing we'll do is go back to our level tool. And usually in a set of plans, this is something that'll already be like sketched out. You already know what these measurements will be, but here we're just kind of like arbitrarily putting it in here, which is not great, but it's just so you can get, just so you know how to draw this thing. And what I like to do, oops, is I'm going to change this from level 5 to dormer bottom. And then it's going to ask you if you want to rename all the corresponding views. And yes, we do. We want this to be populated throughout the entire Revit model. If you don't, then it's just going to change it in this one view and it'll get very confusing. So make sure every time you change the name of a level, top, make sure every time you change the name of a level that you do want it to be populated throughout the entire model. So always put yes on there. And notice as I've done that, it's changed to my ceiling plan. Change that in my floor plans. So I have those levels named as well. So let's zoom out a little bit. Let me take a look at something else just to make sure that we're all on the same page. When we're creating dormer windows, this is what we're creating. Something that looks like that. And you'll have free range to create them any way you want within your separate model, but this is what we're creating, something that looks like this, which is, it definitely adds a really interesting architectural element to the house, and especially if you've got these very high roofs, it gives you a more, it allows light into those like into those second floor rooms, and you can also do it as like almost like a clear story or something like that. So this is what we're creating when we're doing dormers. All right, that being said, we've got all these different heights that we need to take a look at, and I like to start with the dormer top and dormer bottom on here because it allows us to work and change the level of the walls very quickly and very easily. So I'm just going to leave them as is here. And that way, when we start drawing this and things start going a little weird, because it is going to look weird for a second, we can adjust them very easily by just adjusting the heights of these levels. All right, so what does all that mean? I'm going to go ahead and jump to my dormer bottom level. And I've got this weird view that looks like this, but that's okay. I'm going to start adding walls per my next step. So obviously everybody should know where wall tool is now. Architecture tab, build panel, wall tool. I'm going to use the same wall, my exterior wall type. And this is where, for your design, you want to get your dimensions correctly. I'm just going to throw this in here somewhere and see how it looks. But when you're doing your design, you want to do the math to make sure that everything is kind of balanced and even. All right, so we've got that there. Let's take a look and see what we did. You're only going to draw 3 walls because the dormer needs to be open into that attic, into that second floor room, whatever it is. So don't do 4 walls. You're just going to do the 3 walls right here. So let me jump into 3D and see what it looks like. That looks great. Let me put some color on here. All right, so looks a bit ridiculous, but that's okay. We can totally fix that. There's lots of stuff to fix on here. First off, you notice that my walls are inside out. My brick is showing on the inside, so I can fix that really easily by jumping back to dormer bottom level. Remember, we click on that wall, toggles are on the inside, flip those, and they're on the outside that's facing the correct way. I'll just do that to all the walls. Back to 3D. Okay, that's looking much better. So we take a look at the side view. Obviously this is not going to work because the dormer is not even within the house completely. So this is what I was talking about, where we'll change the dormer level in order to change the level of this of the dormer walls and bring those down into the house. So let's change that to 32 feet. And the dormer, obviously, for many reasons, has to be within this roof in order for this to work. And this looks really good. Okay, so just by arbitrarily drawing that out while we're practicing this, I was able to fix that dormer bottom just by adjusting the height of my level. Now, in the real world, we definitely want to do that with our correct dimensions and stuff like that. But for you to just learn this, you can just kind of play with it and get the hang of it. What I also recommend is always, playing with something in a side project like we're doing here. And that way you'll get a better feel for it. And then it'll be easier to incorporate into your overall model if you do decide to do that. So next thing we want to do is adjust the top of these walls. So I can't select all walls right now. I can't do right click and select all instances because it'll select these bottom walls as well. So I can't do that. So I'm just going to click on one wall, select the other 3 walls. At this time, I'm going to set that to the top constraint as the dormer top level, and that's going to top out right there. So that'll adjust that nicely. So we're getting close, and it's getting better. Another thing that you'll notice is that we have this gap between the wall here and the roof. Well, we have to close that in order to fully encapsulate the dormer, obviously. So for this one, we're just going to drag this back so we know it's in the house, and we're going to fix that wall later with some editing, but we're just going to leave that there for now. Let's go to the top view. Let's do the same with this wall here. Highlight this one, and then we kind of bring that up. And then with my location line, there we go. I'll just make sure that is balanced. All right. So we're getting closer to what we look like. All right. Next thing we want to do, we've added our walls, we've adjusted them. They're within the specifications that we want them to be. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to create a roof. And then we're going to join the roof. Forgot a step. It's kind of a big one. All right. So on this level right here, I'm going to create my roof. I'm going to have a 1 foot overhang on these sides of my dormer. And in the front, I want a gable. For this last one, obviously we can't use the pick wall tool, so we're going to switch back to drawing a line. And I like to just draw the line right here or in the center part of that. I don't like to draw it all the way back here because it may be encapsulated in the house. I just, do it a little bit closer to the front, and but that's not a problem, and I'll show you why. So then let's use our trim tool. I'll trim. And let's finish that roof off. Looks weird. Let's jump to 3D. Okay, so not exactly what we wanted, but let's pick that little roof and let's move that to dormer top. And let's take a look at what that looks like now. So if you're paying attention to what these dormers look like, this is absolutely not what we want that to look like. Notice how it should be within the roof itself. This is jumping up over the roof, totally not going to work. So how do I fix that? There's a couple of different ways I can fix that. First off, I can change the height of the dormer top. Let me move that to, let's see, let's try 36 feet. All right, very shallow dormer. This is another reason that I wanted to do a separate building as opposed to your larger model, because there'll be a lot of adjustments. Everybody's got different sloped roofs. Some have very shallow sloped roofs and some people have flat roofs. So obviously for a flat roof, you wouldn't be able to incorporate it. And in some of the shallow roofs, it would look really strange to have a dormer on it. So the higher your slope on these buildings, your original building, the better the dormer is going to look. So that's another reason that we're doing it on a separate building. That being said, we still have this peak here that's sticking up over the top of this roof. So if we tried to join these roofs, it wouldn't work either. It would look really strange. Let's just do it and see what it looks like. So in order to join the roof, you're going to go to Modify tab, to the Geometry panel, and this little tool right here that looks like a roof is Join Unjoin Roof. So if we click on that, the process is to click the back end of the roof that you want to join, and then click to the roof that you want to join it to. So when that happens, the two roofs pull together, which is pretty cool. But this roof is going to look weird like this because obviously this roof is lower than this roof. So let's correct that. Easy way to correct this is to take this roof and let's change the slope on this one. Let's change that to a 612 and see what happens. All right, so that looks a lot better. Notice when we drop that slope, it also corrected the way the roof looks here, which is good. It's exactly what we want. So we're getting better. So we're correcting all our errors and we're getting to a point where it's looking a lot better. So next thing we want to do is we want to grab all these three walls right here, and we want to connect these three walls to our roof. So let's just do that with our control key. and attach top to base. And we'll pull that together. So now we're getting even closer. Looks pretty nice. We've got our little, like a little mini house incorporated into our other house, our little dormer incorporated in there. But the whole point of a dormer is for us to have access to this space, to allow light into the attic room, into whatever room this is right here. And we need to cut an opening in this roof so that we can allow that light in and add a window to the front of this wall right here. So how do we do that? Let's go to Architecture tab, all the way over to the right where it says Opening. So in the opening panel, you'll notice that there is a dormer tool. So we'll click on the dormer tool. And once again, we need to remember the order. You want to click on the roof that you want the hole cut out of. So we want the hole cut out of this big roof here. And then it's going to tell you here to pick roof edges and wall edges. So we're just going to come around the little dormer that we've already created. And we're going to pick those edges. And notice when we do that, it's going to show up in those magenta lines. Oops. So at this point, I want to use my corner tool and trim off and connect those other pieces. So I have that closed geometry for it to cut out. And now I'll hit my green check mark. Well, it doesn't look like anything happened. But if we click on this roof, notice you can see through it now. And if we hide it, you can definitely see within the building. So that looks pretty cool. So a couple of the things that we can do to kind of tweak this and make it look a little bit better. Let's go to wireframe just to see what that looks like on the inside. I know it gets a bit confusing with wireframe, but you can see here that this wall is extended into here. It's the exterior wall. We don't want our actual exterior wall to look like that. So we want to edit that wall so it looks a little bit better. Let me hide this wall. And now I can highlight that wall, make it active. I can go to Edit Profile. It's going to give you this option that it wants to remove the top and base attachments. So that's okay. We'll go ahead and do that. Close. And now we're just going to redraw the shape so we can get rid of this exterior wall that's protruding into our building. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to draw this new wall here. And draw this new shape of the existing wall. And let's see what happens when I hit the green check mark. It's going to see it can't keep them joined, but that's okay. Because we already have our dormer in place, it's not going to make a difference. We still have that opening. But now we don't have an exterior wall protruding through into our interior wall, into our interior space. So we want to do the same with the other side. So I'm going to flip that around. We'll do it over there as well. Same thing. You want to go ahead and grab that wall, make it active. Edit profile. Same thing. It's going to ask you to remove the constraints. That's okay. And delete that one. Delete that. Draw in my new space, my new wall. Now, I'm just having it intersect the roof here, because remember when this is just to create the model for our client. When we actually do further construction drawings, this information will be shown very specifically in detailed drawings. Let me hit the green check mark. It's giving me an error message. It's giving me an error message because I still have this part of the wall outline to delete. So I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to hit that green check mark again. It's going to give me that same thing that we can't keep the walls joined. That's okay, because we have our dormer in place. We'll hit unjoined elements. And now we have something that looks a little bit better. Let's reset and hide some other stuff. So here we've got something that kind of looks like this. So we've got those walls edited so it looks better. This looks weird. Let's fix that. We need to fix that. This side looks pretty good. So obviously that's a big flaw. So let's fix that. Let's reset everything. I'm going to select this wall here, attach top to base. All right, since I edited the wall, it's not going to allow me to do that. So there's a couple of different things I can do to fix that. Let's go to, what level am I going to go on? Let's go to dormer top. No, that's not going to work. Let's go to dormer bottom. There we go. That's better. Okay, notice how these walls join. This wall butts up to these are our walls that we created for our dormer. This wall butts up to this one, and this wall butts up to this one. And this is the wall that we're having problems with. This is the one that dropped. So in order to just kind of close this out, what I want to do is highlight this wall. And this is where things get a little hinky. I'm going to pull that back. I'm going to pull this one forward. I have this intersect this wall here. So now my walls are joined differently. I may have a little issue over here when I come back to that. Probably will, but let's take a look at it and see where we are. Spin that around. So I do have that little problem right there. So I can go back and fix that. But notice how just adjusting those walls was able to solve that problem. I need to go back and adjust that a little more. Notice I can see that this is the roof line right here. We can click on that. It tells you that it's the roof. Click on this one. It's the wall. And let's bring that back to here. Let's jump to 3D, see if that solved it. Not quite, not quite. Need to come back just a little bit more. Back to dormer bottom. This is where it gets weird, where the wrap ends of these walls kind of show a little different. So if I want that to butt up against there, like we have it here, and make it look better, I'm going to jump into my properties. I'm going to jump into edit type. And if you notice on here, it has sections for wrapping at the ends of the walls, because sometimes even if you're creating like a regular wall, you want that end to wrap. So wrapping at the ends, we have set to none. So let's see our options. So we do want our exterior to show on that. So let's hit exterior here, and let's hit OK, and let's see what happens. And I'll jump to 3D again. And just by clicking that wrap on that wall, I've solved that problem right there. So now the dormer's cut and the model looks better. I couldn't join this wall to the roof because of the way we edited it, but we were able to solve that problem just with a few extra steps. So it's a few extra tools for your toolbox. All right, so where are we now? Well, we still need to put that window in the front of our dormer. So let's jump back to dormer top. Let's go to our window tool. That's a really small window. I mean, really small dormer front. So I'm just going to pick. Oh, that might even be too small still. You can pick whatever. Let's see if that works. Whatever window you want. Actually, I want something a little wider. Wider and shallower. Let's try 36 by 24. See what that looks like. So it can't cut instances. Let's see, delete instance. Let's see what that means. It's not letting me put that there. Try that again on dormer bottom. All right, here we go. Let me do it on the dormer bottom, but let's see what happens when we go to 3D. Ah, much better. And the reason why it wasn't letting me do it on the dormer top level is because it was doing it. You remember when you insert a window, you have a sill height. So if it was taking the sill height from the top, from the dormer top, it was trying to actually insert the window above the dormer. That's why we have to do it from our dormer bottom and have that inserted right there. So as you can see, there's a lot of steps to create a dormer. And hopefully I have it laid out pretty simply for you right here where you can go ahead and create that. Let's do one more and that'll be it for today, and then we'll open the floor for questions. So let's jump to Revit again. So we've got one here. Let's do another one on this side. Some of our stuff's already done because we already have our dormer levels in place. So it should make it a little easier, but I'm going to do something. I'm not going to have it balanced. I'm just going to do another dormer randomly to just kind of play with it. Obviously, if you're going to be doing this in your model, you want to make sure that the dimensions match so you don't have anything that looks weird. All right, so we'll jump to dormer bottom level. At this point, I'm going to go to my wall tool. Notice already it's set to wrap, which is fine. We can leave it like that. So I'm gonna just create something a little bigger. That looks like that. Let's jump to 3D. All right, looking better. Let's click on this control key. Select my other walls. Set that to dormer top. Next thing I'm going to do is create the, oh, wait, let's see. I need to pull those walls into the roof. So a couple things that we need to pay attention to here. Why is this sticking out here? Well, it's because I started the drawing way further out into the house, way further out here. So if we brought this down even more, it will mess up this level, or I'd have to create another dormer level. Basically what I need to do is kind of pull this whole wall back. So it's inside the house. This is why it's really important to make sure that we have our dimensions set. So I'm just going to use my directional arrows. Kind of pull those guys back. See if that sits better now. Yeah, that works better. And now I'm going to bring this guy back within the house. If I tried to create a dormer with these walls like this, it wouldn't do it because it has this gap here. It wouldn't be able to work. So we always want to make sure that, for many reasons, that our walls are encapsulated in our house, in our roof, in our building roof. All right, so we've got that in place. Next step is to create the roof. These walls aren't. All right, I just drug that so they're the same, they're balanced, same dimensions. All right, so let's do the roof. I want to put that 1 foot overhang on there. I'm going to put the fine slope on there, a 1 foot overhang on either side of this. Turn the slope off the front. Draw that back line for the back part. So that back roof line. Trim off the extra. Hit my green check mark. Go to 3D, take a look at it. Looks weird. Click on the roof. Change the roof to dormer top. Take a look here. Peak's too high. Let's change the slope. Let's change that slope to, let's try 8 foot, see where that's going to bring us. Not enough. 7. Not enough. And notice just the way this one is drawn, even though this is a 612 slope, due to the shape of the dormer, our 612 slope is not working on here. It's still protruding higher than the original roof. This is why it's a little tricky to draw the dormers, and why it's really important to make sure that when you're actually doing these, we get our math correct to begin with. It's definitely something you want to sketch out and plan ahead of time. All right, so we're set at 5 slope. Next thing we want to do is connect the roof. Remember, to do that, we're going to go to Modify tab, Geometry panel, Join Roof tool. Click the back of the roof that you want to join to the roof you want to join it to, and it will just pull those together, which is real nice. In some of your other designs and some of your other classes, you can start making more complex roofs by doing the same tool, using the same process. At this point, we want to join our walls to our roof. So we're going to select those again by using our control key. Click on one, control key, click on the other 3, attach top to base. That's all nicely encapsulated now.
Ms. Martin.
Yep.
Wouldn't we want to cut the walls out of the roof first before we join them, so we won't have the problem that you had last time?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Well, you know, last time you joined attached the walls to the roof.
And then I had to fix it.
You had to edit the walls. It had that it was giving you an error because it was joined.
That's a very good question. The reason that we have to attach the walls to the roof, or at least the very front part, is if it's not attached, it's not going to cut out that dormer. It's kind of like any type of enclosed geometry. You know, when you have like that owes extra lines and it won't let you complete it because it's got this extraneous part. So we want to make sure that it's closed in order to to be able to cut that dormer hole. But that is a very good point. But yeah, we want to make sure that we have these joined, and things will be a little different here. So let's edit this one and then see what happens when we get to this point. But very good question. So let's jump back to architecture tab. Now we're going to cut that hole out. So we'll go to our dormer tool. Remember, click on the roof that you want the hole cut out of. Now we're going to pick our edges. Let's hit the green check mark, see what happens. All right, so it's freaking out because something's not correct. So hit OK. Let's go back and do that again. Why it did that is because I forgot to trim off those extraneous bits. So I'm going to click on the roof, click on my edges again. And now I need to remember to use my, oops, flip that the other way. Use my corner tool to trim off those extra bits there. So we actually have an enclosed geometry. It's connecting these and it's deleting those other bits. So now we actually have a closed geometry. Now I'll hit my green check mark. And now we'll hit those unjoined elements, which is what you were talking about. But when we do it this time, we're not going to have that same problem because we're using the same wall type. And since it's set to wrap ends, I'm not going to have that same issue as I had before. Those ends are automatically going to wrap and they'll fix themselves. So good catch as far as the question. But since I have these wrap ends already set, it eliminates the problem where I have to edit those walls. So it kind of fixes it like that. So yeah, sometimes Revit will work a little bit better than you expect it to just by doing a couple extra steps. So let's take a look at this one more time. Let's open this guy up. And there we can see within the house there. I'm not going to edit these walls again. That's pretty basic stuff by now. I'll turn this back on. But that's pretty much how to add the dormers. Do a separate project. Do open a new template. Play with it on just a regular roof and see how you can manipulate it. Then go ahead and add it into your project as just a separate building on your property. You can put it anywhere on the property that you want. Don't put it too close to your original model, just because it gets a little. We're going to have to hide stuff when we get to like laying things out in our plans and stuff. So don't put it too close, but don't also put it like tremendously far away. It shouldn't don't have it butted up against there, but just do it as a separate building in your original model, because it'll just mess up your design work for your the model that you already have in place, and it'll make it a little harder. So I just want you to know how to do the dormers, how to create them, because it's a cool tool. It does add some interest into your building. So just add that as a separate little building in your model space already. Any questions on that? I know people are going to get frustrated creating these because everybody does, but hopefully go through the video again step by step, or text me for questions, and then we can take it from there. But we're just that's it for today's lecture. So let's open the floor for questions about the dormers and anything else anybody's having any trouble with.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yep.
So we create this in open a new file. Well, then if we build it, I'm assuming it'll be easy to copy and drag and or do something to get it onto this current file, correct?
No, you want to do that separately. When I say do this outside, this is just a practice one. There is a way to incorporate files, but we're not going to get there yet. So when you create this little building in a separate file, that's just practice like this. I would not import this into my original model that I'm doing. I would, this is just strictly just for practice, so I can kind of manipulate it and play with it. I just find that it's easier for people to do that, but I would not import this one in uh, to your original model. I do all the proper work in the original model, and this is just a practice to do the dormers here.
Okay, cool.
Ms. Martin, I sent you my updated final last night.
Oh, you last, okay.
And I do have a question if you can actually open it up for me right quick.
Sure. Let me go ahead and before we jump into those individual questions, any other questions about today's lecture, y'all?
No.
All right, if anything does pop up, just, shoot me a text. I'll get this posted as soon as possible, because I know it gets a little frustrating, but just follow the steps. And sometimes it helps if you write out the steps, which is what I try to do here for y'all, just to make it a little bit easier, and just kind of practice that today. But I'll get that I'll get that uploaded soon. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and that way we can share other projects.